So I'm going to tell you a little bit about the data set. The criminal court number 10 has a judge named Pablo Casas. This judge is really eager to open the data of the court and also to produce it with a gender perspective. So we will find in the data set a lot of columns that indicates if the resolution we are seeing is from a gender-based violence case. And we have a lot of questions, we will see it later, a lot of variables that explain a lot about the situation that the woman lived during the time of the conflict, so the victim. So that's really, really important because we can see some of the picture of the violence that that woman or victim suffered. I want to say that we think that not only women suffer from gender-based violence, but most of the people that suffer from it are women, cis women, and LGBT community people. So that's really important, and it's something we should keep in mind. So the data set is in Google Drive, so you can access it really, really easily. It's a Google Sheets, actually. We don't call it a database, we call it a data set because for a database, it should be bigger and it should be hosted somewhere else. But they have everything open. They have the resolutions, they have the proceeding manual, they have the CVs, the curriculum vitae of the resumes of the jury lawyers. They have a guide for clear language, and they have the data set. So you can access it. I will send the link for you in a few minutes, but also you can access Twitter in here, and they have the link to the Google Drive. So it's really, really easy. I never thought I was going to be a fan of a criminal court, but I am. I'm really happy with their work. And that's partly a bias, because I think that they do everything right, and maybe sometimes they won't, but we can see some examples in the data set of things they should improve. But for me, I think the work they are doing is really, really great. One small thing I will say later again, this court is based on Buenos Aires. It's a big city, and there are 31 criminal courts in Buenos Aires. So this is one of the 31 courts in Buenos Aires. So it's not, the data is not representative of the reality of Argentina, for example, not even of Buenos Aires. It's just a small part of the city. It's a big and dense city, so we have a lot of cases and resolutions, but it's just a small part. So you keep that in mind. So these are the principles of the court I wanted to share with you because I think they are beautiful. Great. So I will try to, can you mute the participants that are with the mics open? Sorry. Okay. So as I was saying, in Latin America, we have a really, really big problem with missing data, and we don't have a lot of data about gender issues. I come from an NGO that works a lot with gender data, and we get a lot of requests of, do you have this kind of data, where I can find it? And the answer is, we don't have it, we don't know. We have some small data sets that are really good for working with some issues, but with other issues, we don't have it. So we don't know how many, I don't know, women drop out of school. We don't have that kind of data. So there are a lot of missing data that we can't access. So just quick, how to work with gender-based data. What is gender-based violence? This is a phenomenon that affects half the population, and it's related to violence directed against a person because of their gender. Here in Argentina, we have some laws that are really open for transgender men and women and non-binary folks. So that's really, really good. We know in some countries that's not the case. they suffer a lot of gender-based violence too. And also reinforces gender inequality. So we think it's really, really important to understand better what this is about and what happens in the world, not only in our region. And also to put it there, it's a human rights violation. We have, as I was saying, it's important to have quality data about this to understand it better. We see in the world that a lot of data is not gathered around women issues because it's not important if it's not for selling us stuff or for reproductive rights. So we need to have this data to understand better how it works. And then we can assemble some public policies to attack it and to tackle it. So I encourage you to look out there what you have in your country, what is the legislation about this in your country, what the reports worldwide say. I'm not going to get into that right now, but I will send you some links. And what kind of data is available out there. So some things that you should see when you stumble upon a data set of gender-based violence. It would be really, really good to know some of these questions. I don't know if you will be lucky enough to have it, but how was the data collected? What did they choose those categories in each variable? For example, gender category. If it's man or women, that is a biological sex, but the gender identity field should have more categories. And sometimes those categories are man, women, other, or man, women, prefer not to say, man, women, something else. And that's not really accurate because we have cis women, cis men, trans women, trans men, non-binary, and then the field of prefer not to say or other. And it depends also on each country. Here in Argentina, we have a group, a community of travesti people. And in some countries in Latin America, travesti is a bad word and people don't use it. But here in Argentina, they use it and they refer to travesti as a gender identity. So it can vary between countries, and that makes it not traceable between the countries, but we should keep in mind that we can fine-tune these categories for the analysis. And I think it's important for everyone to be represented in the gender category. When was it created? What is the meaning of the abbreviations? Is it up to date? What is the data used for? Who financed the collection of the data? Which was their purpose? Everything should be there. It's not there usually, but it's really important to have it. And also to see, I was talking before about my own bias regarding this data set, because I really like the work that the judge is doing, and I won't see many mistakes because I'm kind of blind about it. So before working with this kind of data, it's important to ask ourselves, what are our own bias? What do I think I will find? And I will be looking for that, or I will be open to new findings. Of course, this is a question everyone should ask themselves every time they are working with social data, but this is really important. So I will ask you for to look inside yourselves and think, what is your own bias regarding this data? What do you think you will find? What are your prejudices? Do you think something is going to be different because the data is from Latin America or from Argentina than from the rest of the world? I don't know. I'm just putting some questions out there. And if you want to write in the chat something about what you think about the bias in this data, in yourselves. In this data, the bias, I was telling you about it before, it's partial. It's not representative of the whole region. So that mainly is going to leave us with some truncated solutions or reflections. because it's not from Buenos Aires or Argentina, it's from a small part of the city. And we have 31 criminal courts, and this is one of them. By the way, the rest of the courts are not opening their data, and they are not doing anything remotely similar to this one. So that's why we are using this data set. Second, we want to emphasize that this data set is really well curated for security and privacy of the people. The court works with a team of cybersecurity, and everything they put online previously is encrypted, anonymized, so it's not possible to see the name of the person, where do they live in, and everything. So it's really, really secure, and we should be really conscious about this with working with this kind of data. We don't want to expose anyone, and it can be really dangerous for their lives for that data to be out there. Third, ask about what you don't know. We are not experts on everything, but we can help you if there are things you don't know, and it's always better to ask than to assume something. And I wanted to talk a little bit about machine learning here, because I know most of you work with algorithms and run models on data to predict or to classify or to do some clustering or to work with, I don't know, processing of natural language. My own posture about this, my own stance is that it's going to be partial, because in a resolution like this, we have only the side of the victim. That is 80% of what we should know, because it's really important to have the side of the victim. You have 8 more minutes, okay? Okay, so the side of the victim is really important, but we should have more information to have the whole picture, and we don't have it. So predicting can have some troubles and some bias, and I don't know what we should predict if someone is going to be a victim of gender-based violence. So I'm not sure that this is safe for people to do, especially with the biased data that we work with. Usually when we work with machine learning, we use data from society, data from Twitter or from the web or Reddit. And as we saw on GP3, it's not going to turn out well. So enough of this. We are going to the data set. I think some exercises really good is what questions do we want to answer, and our hypothesis to work with this data. The girls are going to give an intro to pandas, inspecting the data with functions, and see what we can find. Also data analysis and visualization. It's not going to be really hard for people that don't know anything about this, don't worry. So it's just like an exploratory data analysis and see what we can find there. Okay, so I will stop sharing and put Lucy there, thank you. And if you have any questions or anything at all, please say it so we can discuss it.
Yes, yeah. I'm here.
No, before starting, I can say that I have pasted all the links that you will need for following the workshop here in the chat. So you have a link to our GitHub, and also you have a collab link, so you can follow the analysis and also run the analysis on your own computers. So what? I don't know. Go to. Okay. Cool, thank you. So you can follow all the analysis in your own computer. So check the links. Let us know. Okay, yeah, it's good to know that you don't have the link. So here you have the link to collab. I'm sharing it again.
Yeah, one thing it's important. Don't run it in that link. make a copy if you can.
Yes.
I don't know, Anna,
Yeah.
if you're going to say that.
Yeah, and also you can check the link to our Orga in GitHub, so you can also download the Schuppeiter notebook, and so you can locally. Okay, you will have the data missing, maybe, but you can check the link if it has.
So let's start. We have here the collab, as Anna and Ivy sent the links. So for this hand session, we have an overview. The first part is how to work with gender-based violence data that Ivy told about that. Then we are going to be to talk about basic intro to Python's libraries and pandas. And then we are going to work with our data set, loading and inspecting the data. We are going to do some data cleaning and data analysis, and we are going to inspect what is happening with this data set. So this collab is very explicit. You have here our information about the two communities that we are here. An explanation about what Anna said before, Ivy says before about gender-based violence, and also the presentation that she showed us is here. And I don't know, Anna, do you want to start with this basic intro to libraries now that we have a lot of time?
Okay, I wasn't expecting this. Yeah, no, maybe just a comment that I think that I'm sure that you have the enough knowledge about the libraries that we are going to use, but just in case you have a reminder there how to install or check if those libraries are there for you. So if you are running this notebook locally, then it will be nice or helpful to check if you have this library installed. So by importing them before starting the analysis, and then if you don't have them, you can install them by using pip as usual. So in your console, just type pip install pandas or Seaborn. We are not using a strange library. Maybe word cloud or image could be the strangers, but Panda, Seaborn, I think that you are used to them. So yeah, please, before starting the analysis, if you are running locally, check the installation of all the libraries. Yeah. Well, I don't know, Lou. Well, I think that we are going to skip this part or not.
Yeah, I don't know if you want to say something about the intro to pandas. Or...
Yeah, just to be sure that all of you knows a little bit about pandas, this library. Maybe we can check in the chat or also with the reactions. I don't know. Maybe you can let us know if you need a refresh. Okay, we have some okays there in the reactions. Okay.
I cannot see that.
Familiar with pandas, Python, all good. Okay.
Oh, nice.
Cool.
Nice.
So maybe we can just start checking the data we have. Okay, we have more comments. I will be. Let's go. Okay.
Perfect. So let's go to the loading and inspecting data part. In this part, we are creating two variables. One for the URL, where is the data. We have this data in the drive in a specific place, but also I think that is open for all the community. And we are going to read the data using, as usual, pandas read CSV. For inspecting the data, we can use some built-in functions that Python has, like this .info function that you can see the number of the column, the name of the column, if there is some values that is missing or non-values here, and the type of the value. So in
Yes.
this case,
can I say something really quick?
Yes.
As you can see, we have a lot of variables regarding violence, gender-based violence. We have physical violence, psychological, economical, sexual, social, ambiental and political, environmental and political. So we have the modality, we have the phrases that the aggressor told the victim. We have the gender, the nationality. We have a lot of data. If you don't know some of these terms in Spanish, there is a translation document that I will be filling if you, or you can help me too. I will openly put it to, so you can edit it. So don't be afraid to translate things.
Yes, because as you can see, this is a big data set. We have 71 columns. And also in this case, we have 4,000 entries, 4,000 rows. So it's a lot of information, and we have, as Ivy says, the date, what kind of behavior we have, if it's a gender-based violence, what kind of violence is in this part, if there is one of these violence, and the gender of the people is here, the age, this nivel instruction is how educated is the person, if how many money they own, and so on. So for take a look of these data sets, we are going to use the head function. So we can take a look of this data. In this conduct, we have a lot of different conduct. Also, this about animal protection, that in our case is not important, but we are going to see later how we can filter this column about behavior. And what else we have here? And the nationality, and so on. We can also use the describe function. In this describe function is very interesting when we have numerical data in our data set. But in this case, we have only 2 columns with numbers. That is the number of the register and the number of the tome. That this is the number of the publication of this case. So in this case, it's not very interesting, but take in mind for use it in others analysis. And there is another ways to inspect the data, like shape, size, and types. So now how we can access to the columns, we can use the name of the data frame, that columns, and you can see the list of all the names on each column. And also you can access to these columns passing a list with the names of different columns. In this case, we are using behavior and violence and gender-based violence. So I don't know if there is any comment until here.
No.
No. Okay. And also we can see which are the unique values or for every column. So we have here df, the number, the name of the column, and the unique function. So you can see when is this gender-based violence, if there is or is not, or if there is a missing value in there. Now for accessing to the rows, we can use this function called .log. So we are filtering here for each specific row that is with a condition that is, you can use this condition. In this case, we want to know how many rows or which rows are yes for this gender bias-based violence. And we can filter all these data sets using this .log. And we can use also these Boolean conditions. So we can incarnate two conditions. In this case, is the gender-based violence and the behavior that is filtered by this harassment. So we can filter all the data that is related with harassment and gender-based violence. So this was the first part. We are exploring the data. Now we are going to data cleaning and data analysis. So for this specific analysis, we only want to work with the data that is corresponding to the gender-based violence. So we are going to use this first filter here. And then we are going to drop in some duplicate rows and unnecessary columns. For this dropping unnecessary columns, we are going to do first a list with the names of the columns that we don't need it. In this case, we are using the number of the register, the scene, the violence, gender, the gender-based violence, because now we know that we only have yes here. And the address of the people and where is located this violence. So we are going to drop all these columns. And then we can take a look to the new data set that is called DF Gender Violence Cleans. And we have this part, then we can see the important things for us, like the resolution date, behavior, the types of violence, and so on. But also, we can see at the end of this part that we have a lot of information that we don't need, like these links, for example, the number of the number of the register and things like that. So we can also use another way to drop these columns, that is for the number of the index and the column. And now we have our data frame clean in this part. We can take a look, and this is an important part because we want to know what kind of conducts or what kind of behaviors we have now that we have this clean data frame. So I think that we need. Sorry. Yes, so we can take a look of this. This is the unique values for the behavior. So we have here threats, harassment, this is breach of family duties, damage, abuse, and so on. I don't know if Evie, do you want to take?
Yeah, no, I was just seeing that we don't have a lot of time, so we can go to the visualization part. Sorry, people, but this is how it works.
No, actually, I was about to say that we are kind of cleaning the data in a fast way because we don't have enough time. But as you can see in the notebook, we should check the data because the people who is charging the data entries are could be. The data set is kind of tricky. We have many things to improve. So the analysis and the cleaning data that we are doing here is kind of a fast one. So it's just to make it work and show you which analysis we can do. But for sure, this part of the analysis should be improved also for a proper analysis, you know. Okay.
Yeah. Sorry, we have like 40 minutes, no? So it's okay. So we have time. Yeah.
Okay, Claudia is saying there in the chat.
Thank you, Claudia. So
we have, maybe we can make some comments here, Evie, about the data set, the problem we have here in the collecting data. Maybe you have any comment about this?
No, this analysis is really good, but the first data that was gathered in 2006, 17, and 18 is really, really dirty. We have a lot of missing values and a lot of values that we don't know how they put it in the data set. Some dates of, I don't know, the year of the person that was the birth year of the victim, it was in 1900s. So it's really, it was really hard, and we find it all the time with data science that we have to do a lot of cleaning and pre-processing to actually make it prettier and put some variables together and visualize them. So if we can go a little bit, Lucy, you can continue.
Yeah,
Yes,
no, just the comment was that maybe having the data open is just not enough for making clear to or accessible to everyone to analyze the data. So this is the comment I was trying to say, you know. So we have the data and it's a lot. So maybe we can keep on working on this open data could be clear enough for people to analyze them. So yeah,
yes,
continue.
because we have like an issue here, for example, that is the dates. All the dates, you can see that, or we have a lot of missing values, or the dates are in a different format, so it's very difficult to clean all this data, or you are missing a lot of information here. So yes, we just not need only this open data. We need this data also clean, and we need another ways to collect this data also. So in this part we have, we are just taking a look. So this column that we have with a lot of missing values, so you can check here what is the values for these columns. And then we are going to work with the data. We are going to transform the data for the resolutions. And we also rename some columns. And we can work now with these kind of violence types. So the important part here is we are transforming this yes or not in values for 1 of 0, and then we can count how many of these different types of violence we have here, and we can take a look for each year how it's represented. As you can see, one of the big part of this is psychological violence, then is following for physical violence, and then this in green, there's the economical violence, and finally the sex violence. We can see also that we have a peak in 2019.
Yeah, one thing we should keep in mind with every data set we work is that 2020 and 2021 are really strange years because of the pandemic. And especially in Argentina, we had a huge shutdown of everything, a lockdown, so people couldn't go to the criminal court, and it was kind of hard to make these claims about gender-based violence. But also another thing I wanted to put out there is that this dataset is really good because it differentiates the kinds of violence. When we talk about gender-based violence, it seems like a huge thing, but we don't know what is in it. And we have a lot of forms that violence can take place. And it's not only a punch or something physical to be violence. So one thing we wanted to tell is that if you are working with these issues, you should also search what are the ways in your country and in your area to make these claims. And if you know someone that is going through this kind of violence, you can help them by going with them to some of these courts, or I don't know if the police is the best place sometimes, but usually you have a number, a WhatsApp, so you can get help, yeah, and you can make a claim.
Yeah, also you can check that this peak also is overlap with the initialization of the pandemic. You know, in 2019 was the beginning of the pandemic, and here was the lockdown in Argentina. So many cases, the cases raised, and that's why maybe we can see that all the cases also increased. And well, we are going to keep on with the analysis, so you can check maybe that the reality, what is happening in the places or in these cases, that why the lockdown is increasing the cases also. So yeah, as Ivy said, you have you may check the lines or the telephone numbers that you can call in case that you are under this violence cases or whatever. Check in Argentina, for example, we have 144, and Lu, I think that you also have a line there in Colombia. So
Yeah.
check in your country and don't be afraid to ask for help.
To talk. Yes.
Here we have a question. Did all claims drop or just those related to gender? All of them. Okay, Ivy is kind of answering in the chat. Maybe we can read also the questions and the answers here, so the record will have the answers and the questions. Okay.
Yeah, I was saying that we can check it when we finish this notebook, if we have a little bit of time, or you can do it yourselves now. You can check how many claims or resolutions were in 2020 and compare it with the rest of the years.
Yeah. So we are taking a look to the type of violence, and now we want to know what is the age of the victim or the defense. So we also have a part for cleaning all the data. As you know, this is a issue to improve because we have different formats for the age. And then we can see this. Sorry, there is a sound.
Yeah, there is a mic open. I think that maybe Desmond can help us, or maybe it's Desmond itself. Okay, now it's okay, Lu. No, yeah, just to say that as you can see, we have kind of solved the dates that we have there, because the data was written in many or different ways. That was what we were talking about before, that maybe this is something to improve. The first step is asking for the open data, and the second step is to make it clear enough to make all the analysis. So this is something that we were talking about before. And also, again, we were kind of trying to filter and make this in a fast way, but for sure you can improve also this kind of filtering by using regular expressions or whatever, and improve the analysis also. Yeah, Lu.
Yes, and also we need to be sure about the data is correct because we have like wrong numbers here. So we can take a look of this age. We have the age for the, sorry, a minute, the victim. So we can take a look to the age of the victim. We have this distribution. We can see that is also the peak. One peak is between 20s and 30s, like 25s. And the second peak is around 30s, 35 years. So it's like almost people of our age that is suffering a lot of violence. And this is something strange because I see this distribution for the defendant, and you can see that we have more young people here. Usually, when we take a look to the gender of this victim and defendant, we have women here and men here. So we need also the right data to take a real analysis of this part.
Yeah, maybe just a comment that I was saying in the chat, not for not interrupting you, Lu, but again, we need to check carefully if the data missing that we are removing or whatever is representative or not. We were trying to work with the columns or the rows that have less missing data. So, and as just a comment about the plot that you were talking about, Lu, as we can see, this problematic or the is kind of spread in all the ages. So we have some peaks, but this is a problematic that we have for all the ages, and so this is something to keep in mind.
Yes. And also we can take a look to the violence events for year. So you can see how we filtered in this part of the dates for the when it happened, this event, when was the beginning of this event or the end of the event, and also the day of resolution. So we can go to this part. So we have here the number of cases, and here we have in this axis, we have the days until the resolution. I don't know if Ivy, if you want to explain a little bit what means these days until the resolution.
Yeah, usually when some violence happens in the household or in the public arena, the incident happens and they go through the court, and it's a long process. We usually don't know how long it's going to be, and it's really, we can see here, it's really, really long and sometimes exhausting and time-consuming and resource-consuming. But it's worth it, but the average is a year since the incident happened until the resolution of the judge. So it's a long process. Here in Argentina, at least, maybe in some other places it's faster, and in some other places maybe it's lower too. And we can see that we have some resolutions that took almost 4 years, no, or more. So it's a really, really long process.
Yeah, this could be exhausting for the victims, and that's why maybe some victims don't want to start this kind of process. So this is something maybe to change, and this is why this kind of analysis worth it, because we can check how hard it's for the victims and how hard is the to ask or to have a resolution or a solution for the problems with the system like it is right now.
Yeah, also Anto in the chat said something really, really interesting, is that maybe we should check if the age distribution is similar to the other claims. So maybe younger people go more often to court, because here in Argentina and also in Latin America, the movement of women for their rights is really, really strong in the last few years. So a lot of young people are really conscious about what to do in situations. They are well informed, and they are not as afraid maybe as some other people that maybe they have kids together, they live together, they have a harder situation if they are a couple. So for some people, when kids are involved, when life stake is involved, like if you depend on your husband for a living and you live in their house, it's hard to make these claims. So that's one of our hypotheses and assumptions. We can be wrong, but all the theory says it's going to be like this too.
No, and also in the young age maybe could be difficult to to know what we are going through if we have no education about it. So here in Argentina, we have some laws for having this gender and sex education at the school, but maybe it is not that common, or it is still not working enough. And so it's kind of difficult for the young people to know if they are going through violence or not, so if they should claim or not. So this is also something to check.
Yeah, each time we encounter a new variable or a cross of variables, we have to keep in mind a lot of things regarding gender-based violence, so we don't jump to any early conclusions, or we don't understand fully what is going on here.
Yes, I think that this is an invitation for the people that you can take a look more deeply to this notebook, to this data, and also try to answer these questions that we have here and solve this hypothesis. Yes.
Yeah, and crossing with other data related or sociological or the local data, so you can cross information and make a new hypothesis or to make clear the things. Yeah, Lu.
Because this, for example, this result, we have here the average of the time for the resolution is 346 days. Is almost a year for a resolution. So if we find these results, we can also propose something for the political, public politicals or something like that. But we need data and we need results and also understand these results. So this was the distribution for the days until the resolution of the problem. Well, this is a detail of that. And then we are going to take a look to this gender-based violence behavior. So we can take a look to this part. So we can count how many times for this behavior we have any of these types. So we have these traits. So it's 300 times. Harassment 100 times, and this breach of family duties and damage and so on. So then we can take a look also to the gender of the persons. So we have here.
Yeah. One small thing.
Yes.
If you see that the threats and the harassing are the big part of the behaviors, it's similar with the psychological violence that people suffer. So threats and harassment usually don't have like a physical consequence. They are not explicit sexual or physical violence, but it's the most common kind of violence because it starts with this psychological violence and the man saying a lot of horrible things and doing a lot of horrible stuff that are not physical to restrain the victim. And then sometimes it leads to physical violence. Not every time, but sometimes. And it's not, we don't have to wait until the physical violence to make a claim. We can do it before that.
Yes, also we can see here that we have this street sexual harassment. Yes, we have a lot of conduct behaviors. And I was saying that we can filter this data set by the gender. So we have the first one is the gender of the defendant. So we can see that most of the people is men, cis men, and the gender of the victim is women.
Yeah, so. And also one analysis you can do if you have a little bit of time, if we have a little bit of time after the notebook, is to see how many of these people have kids together, have children together, and see the conduct, the third conduct is about family duties. I don't know, Lucy, if you can go a little bit up.
Yeah.
So they are not doing their family duties, and so women go to court for that. So usually that's when they have children together, and the man is not
paying
putting money or So
paying the food or the scholarships or whatever for the kids.
So if someone wants to try and do this intersection between kids, the wording in Spanish is hijo, if they have kids together and see about these claims, it's interesting.
Yes. So we filter here by the gender of the victim, that is women, and also what is the kind of behavior. And we have here how is the frequency, the number of cases. So also we have the same that before. So we have the threats, the harassment, the breach of family duties, the damage, and so on. And we also have this, that this is very interesting, is how many times happens this violence, physical violence, psychological violence, physical violence, economical violence, sexual violence. This is for symbolic, Ivy.
Yes, so you can see all the violence, and you can see where it happened.
Yeah, that's what
Lou
was about to say. Yeah, maybe this is important to be related with the plot that we were looking at before about the pandemic and when the cases raises, because as you can check here, as this is a heat map that as Ivy was about to say, that the hot spots or the brown spots that you have there are the biggest numbers. So as you can see, the most of the cases or this violence happens at home. So that's maybe could be a reason why since the pandemic started and the lockdown started, all the cases raised. So this is something that maybe we can put together like a small pieces together with the plot we did before.
Yeah, and also the gender-based violence usually is called also domestic violence. We don't do that because there is a huge spectrum of violence, but the domestic violence is really, really common. And as you can see, the second one is on the public road, harassment or fights or whatever on the public road. And the third one is on the internet, technological medium. So internet, WhatsApp, harassment via online, that is hugely increasing nowadays. And it's a felony, and it's something that we should, some countries don't even have a legislation for it. So if there is violence in the internet or harassment in the internet, you should keep all the evidence, and you can go to a small claims court or a criminal court and make that claim. It's interesting because when we think about gender-based violence, we think about it physical and confrontational, face-to-face, and it's increasing the number of conflicts in the internet nowadays. And we can see that here.
No, and also talking about this as since the pandemic started and we started, or many people, we did it before, but many people started working on the web, and kids are now having their classes online or whatever. And so this is something that maybe could be interesting to show that we need education so we can prevent and we can know when we are suffering this kind of violence. And so this is important. Showing data and showing these results could be important for make governments or schools or wherever to start talking about these problematics. And so the kids also can, or kids, women, or everyone can know when is going through this kind of situations. So yeah. Oh, here we have another. Is there any data that shows the cause of some of these violences, Evie?
Yeah, I don't know if the cause can be showed on data. I think it's broader. We should look at it in a sociological point of view and see that the violence, it's a social phenomenon that happens because men are raised to believe that they are better and smarter and stronger than women, and that women are objects that should be used to have children and to serve men. I think this is a simplistic conclusion, but it's much more complex than that. It's a patriarchal system as Anna says. So the violence is not, I don't think we can see it in the data. I don't know what the rest of the people in this workshop think.
Yeah, but I was, sorry, I was thinking about this, of the causes of this violence, and maybe something that we can ask at the beginning of these forms, or when the people is going to do this, how is the name for denuncias? Claim, yes. Maybe we need more information about that so we can take a look to this hypothesis.
And
no,
also
yeah, but check.
To think,
yeah, sorry, Ivy.
It's dangerous to think that the cause of the violence comes from this data, because this data comes from the woman. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of saying that the woman is guilty of the violence because she had children with the accused, or she I don't know, didn't work or whatever. So it's dangerous to make those assumptions. It's really intricate in the society how we blame women for everything, and it's important to see that there is much more than this data set to understand gender-based violence. So we need to read and research and talk. And
this is something that maybe we need to make it clear, because we are women working in women communities, and so we know that this is common, and this is a complex problem that we all can solve together, and it is needed to be solved by all. So the first part is thinking this problem not in a linear way, not in a just a cause reaction, just thinking that this is a sociological problem, as Ivy said, and it's a complex problem, so we can't blame people. We just need to analyze deeply and think about how the system, the patriarchal system, and how capitalism is also affecting this. So the work that people have, maybe we can recommend you some texts and also reading about this, and how in a sociological the sociological aspects and how this could be analyzed also can help for this analysis. As you know, analyzing data involves knowing about the domain that we are analyzing. So here the domain is kind of complex, and we need to know that it is not something linear, and that we can just say, okay, this is the cause and this is the reaction. No, it's not that easy. So yeah.
I was going to say in the summary of our notebook, I was going to make a little small reflection about, we are not going to change gender-based violence analyzing data. We're going to understand it better, but our goal is not to solve it via data science, because we can't, but we can understand it. We can push governments and society to be better via data. That's why we do it.
Yes, I was thinking about what kind of question are important at the moment that you are collating these question when you are doing the claim. So what else, what other kind of information we need for start this data analysis also?
So if we go a little bit to the workflow, we can also see, understand it better, because this data set has something that is really valuable. Yes, it's the phrases that the aggressor said to the victim. It's really, really strong, and it has a lot of really hard language and bad words, but you can hear the violence in those phrases. And we made a small word crowd that it's not cute, it's really awful, but Lucy, if you can show it. It's in Spanish, so people don't understand Spanish, but the bigger one is, I'm going to kill you. That's the main phrase that aggressor says is, I'm going to kill you. Death threats are really, really common. Shut up, and I'm going to kill you.
On the bed.
Because you're sleeping with someone else. So, so that's one of the word clouds we created. The other one is about the words, not the phrases. No?
Yes, it's the words of the behaviors.
The behaviors, and there was one more, or no?
No.
Okay. So that was yeah. So mainly what we wanted to do is to see what was happening in this particular criminal court, and to see what kind of conducts they are charging people with, and the phrases they are the accused are using. So that's the bioinfo networks. Anna, I will send.
Yeah, I was trying to answer Claudia that is asking us for a Slack chat so we can share information, data, and books.
Yeah,
maybe you can follow us. Yeah, we have a Slack. That's something that I was asking
Anna,
you.
We have a Slack for PyData with everyone in this conversation. There is a channel with analyze gender-based violence in this workshop. So I will put everything there.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. And, and also was about to say that with DataGénero and also with WBDS LA, we are all the time doing some workshops and inviting people that are working in this kind of problematics, and so we are giving some free workshops that you can join, and please follow us and be part of our proposals, because this is important to keep in mind the whole scenario of this problematic, and so you can join us in any other workshops or talks that we organize.
Also,
thank you.
If you started doing your own analysis of this data set and you want to show us some of the things you found and the graphics you made and the visualizations or anything in the Slack channel of PyData, we can do it. Anto, you told us a lot of things we can do, and I encourage you to do it. And if you can, later we can schedule a call and make something else of this. So we are open to any suggestions. I hope you had a good time, although the subject is kind of hard to deal with, and that everything was understood.
And yeah, if you have any question or you have any suggestion, or do you want to collaborate or whatever, please contact us, and we will be happy to have you in our communities too. De nada, Claudia. She's answering in Spanish. Yeah, Desmond is desperate because we need to break.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Our panelists, we would have to break to the Gada.town now. If you have any questions, just as they said, you can move over to Slack and continue the discussion over there, and informations and other resources are going to be available to you guys all there. Thank you all for being around here. So let's split to the Gada.town. If you are confused about where to find a link, check in the announcement section. In the general session. It's pasted there. You should be able to access it. Thank you all. So, bye.
Thank you, everyone.